The archaeological site of Apollonia Arsuf is located at a distance of some 12 kilometers to the north of Tel Aviv, on the cliff above the shore which overlooks the Mediterranean Sea. The first settlers at the site of Apollonia Arsuf were Phoenicians who came from the north and carried out commercial ties with the population that lived inland. The first Phoenician settlement took place somewhere in the late 6th century BCE, when the country was under Persian Achaemenid rule in the early days of the Second Temple period. The Phoenicians came to this area for two basic reasons. First, the natural haven below the cliff, and second, the Murex brandaris, from which the purple color has been extracted in antiquity. The name of the site in the Persian period was most probably Arsuf, based on the name of the Phoenician god Reshef. Later on, in the late 4th century, and then throughout the 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd century BCE, when the whole area was under Greek rule of the Hellenistic period, the Greeks identified the Phoenician god Reshef with their own god Apollo, and the name of the site changed to Apollonia. The population of the site in the Hellenistic time was not much larger than previously, only a small community of traders, mainly Phoenicians, but in Roman times there was basic change at the site when some rich merchant, or which originated possibly in Italy, or a locally rich merchant who underwent Romanization, he decided to build himself a beautiful peristyle villa on the top of the cliff overlooking the Mediterranean. The plan of the site was typically to Italy of that period. Also, that's the same can be said about the system of construction, Italian system of construction. So we most probably have here, as I said, a Western influence on the basic dwelling at the site, which has been uncovered entirely during our excavations. We still wait to uncover more finds from the Roman period, mainly, hopefully, the Temple of Apollo, which most probably existed at the site.
How is it possible, after 20 years and 17 seasons, we just see a few squares here and there of excavation, you know?
Right.
And the answer in one simple word is money.
Budget.
Oh, I see.
If you had a lot of money and a lot of people, you could open up this whole area from where we stand now as far as the castle and make an excavation on the scale of what is they've done at Beit Shan or Caesarea or something else. You cannot do everything. Anyway, it would be wrong to do everything, because maybe the next generation will be able to do it without digging.
They will not have much to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, how do you choose your points? Because this area is vast.
Yes.
So how do you decide
where to dig?
Yes.
Where to dig? Oh, that's as a basic question for every archaeologist. That's what we call a strategy of archaeological digging. I mean, you arrive to a site which is, let's say, had an expanse here for 280 or even 300 dunams, and we are going to open a quarter of a dunam or something like this. And how do we choose? First and foremost, I would say the expertise, and we use a series of criteria of what kind of archaeological or historical problem we want to solve. And if you ask us why do we go some time ago to the castle, because that is the most representative and best preserved architectural complex from the specific Crusader period, which can give us the answer to the how people were living, fighting and dying in that specific Crusader period. That is over the castle, very impressive. Now if we come here, there is nothing impressive, so you may ask why do we specifically come here. We do have an answer. The criteria in this case was, the main criterion in this case was because it is the highest place in the site, the Acropolis, and we hope that in the highest place of the site we'll find the most impressive monument in the site, except the Crusader castle. We came here, we dug, we did not find it. The most impressive monument was probably elsewhere and not here. But we have found several...
Not the Crusader castle.
Not the Crusader castle. Not the Temple of Apollo, because we are here at Apollonia. But we hope...
you have not found the Temple of Apollo.
Not yet found the Temple of Apollo.
Maybe it's under your feet.
Under your feet, yes.
You just have to go down.
Yes.
Later on, in Byzantine times, the entire area of the site of Apollonia, which was an unfortified city, nor in previous periods, nor in Byzantine time, it became the main urban center of the entire southern Sharon plain, a main city between the larger city of Caesarea in the north and the medium city of Jaffa in the south. Apollonia in Byzantine times was an area which included a whole series of manufactural installations for all kind of manufacture, for making wine, making oil, and for a whole series of other industrial production which we have unfortunately not yet identified. What we have in the south of the site is two couples of huts which have been uncovered in the recent excavations, indicate most probably the salting of fish and the making of specific fish sauce, what in Roman time was called garum et salsamenta, which was most probably the main food of the people in Byzantine times. Around 640 CE, the whole area, including Apollonia, was conquered by the Muslims, and the Muslims returned to the Semitic-based name Arsuf. The Muslims were very much afraid about concerning possible seaborne attacks of the Byzantine fleet, so they fortified their coastal towns along Palestine of that period, and they surrounded also only a small part of Byzantine Apollonia. They surrounded the city of Arsuf with a fortified, well-built city wall. The city of Muslim Arsuf included a market street in the middle of the city. In the autumn of 1099, the Crusaders arrived to Arsuf, laid siege to the Muslim city of Arsuf, intended to conquer it, but they couldn't conquer the Muslim city of Arsuf because they had not enough troops. Only some 3,000 warriors, which were not enough to conquer the fortified city of Arsuf. However, 2 years later, the first Crusader king of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, Baldwin I, he laid siege on the city with a larger army. He laid siege on the seaside with the help of a fleet from Genoa, and after a few days of fierce fighting, the Muslim population of Arsuf surrendered, and they were allowed afterwards to leave the city towards Egypt. The city remained a fortified city of the Crusader kingdom of Arsuf for exactly 164 years. During that period of time, there was a Christian population at Arsuf, but to a much lesser degree than before. The most important contribution of the Crusaders, beside rebuilding the city wall of Arsuf, was to build an extraordinary Crusader castle in the north of the city, overlooking a small built port beneath the fortress. The fortress was built by the Crusader according to a Western plan, and not similar to other Crusader castle built in the Holy Land, which followed other kinds of plans. Here at Arsur, as the Crusader called the place, the Crusaders built a Western type Western type plan of a Crusader fortress with an inner courtyard, fortified castle gate with two half-round towers on both sides of a main entry, well-fortified donjon at the western end, and a whole series of halls all around the central courtyard. All that system, which included, as I said, a main fortification system, was surrounded by an outer fortification system with lower walls, and, much more important, a huge ditch some 30 meters wide, which is the largest Crusader ditch found so far in the country. It was a very impressive military fortified complex, but that complex could not stand an organized attack of the great Mameluke Muslim Sultan of Egypt, Baybars I. Towards the summer of 1265, with a large, well-disciplined and well-trained and well-equipped Muslim army from Egypt, after a lightning attack on Caesarea and conquest of Caesarea, he came to Arsuf, laid siege to Arsuf, and after 40 days of fierce fighting, the city was conquered, and after 3 more days, the castle was conquered. At the beginning, they received the message from Baybars that if they will surrender, their lives will be spared. However, after the conquest, Baybars decided that there is no point to keep a word to the infidels, and he took the Crusaders, the Crusader Hospitallers, into captivity. Even more than that, he ordered them to destroy by their own hands the castle which they themselves tried to defend a few days before. Baybars, in the frame of his general systematic policy to destroy systematically all the fortified Crusader strongholds along the coast, with the basic idea that if one day Crusaders will try to come back to the Holy Land, there will be nothing to come back to. That systematic destruction was so systematic that actually for almost 2 centuries all the coastal towns of the Holy Land were not only completely destroyed, but completely abandoned, and population was not existent anymore along the shore, but only farther inland. That includes also the site of Apollonia Arsuf, and until we came back to start our excavations in 1977, the site was completely abandoned. The systematic destruction of the site by Baibars in 1265 was only the beginning of the systematic destruction of the site later on, caused mainly by nature.
I'm standing on the ruins of the west wing from the castle of Apollonia. The part that fell down, as I told, is the west wing, and it's the part that connects between the build port of Apollonia. We don't know if it's a port or just some place to anchor with a small or larger boat. Apollonia was declared in 2004 as one of 100 sites in the world in danger of destruction. What we're trying to do right now is we're trying to protect this side of the of the castle. We want to build some kind of a supporting wall that will prevent the waves from breaking on the bottom of the cliff and destroy this part of the fallen ruins. We want to do something with a wall, a supporting wall, which we know that exists here during the Crusader period. We want to somehow to reconstruct or do something similar to what the Crusader did in order to prevent the wave from breaking on the bottom of the cliff. This operation will be temporary until we decide what to do in long terms.
Another cause for the systematic destruction of the architectural complexes at the site is the systematic robbing of building stones from the site from people who came throughout the 19th and early 20th century from Jaffa to build with them public and private houses. What should be done after the beginning of the preservation and salvation of the cliff is to begin to reconstruct the Crusader castle, the medieval city, and the remains from the ancient settlement, and to have it a much more representative site for pupils, for students, as well as for tourists in the future.